Welcome to Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, just to hear it out loud. Join Toby Malone and TJ Young, along with some special friends, as we puzzle our way through what we once thought was an unreadable book to produce a surprisingly listenable podcast. It is Monday, August 26th, 2024. It has been 101 days since we have started reading, with 259 pages complete of 628, meaning we have 369 pages left to go and are 41.24% of the way through Finnegans Wake. Welcome to episode 19 of Wake, the podcast where the only lessons we want are the lessons at night, just so long as they teach us enough to fulfill a long-held bucket list item, reading James Joyce's Finnegans Wake out loud just once. I'm your host, Toby Malone, joined once more by the man who teaches me something new every time we work together, my co-host, TJ Young. Hi, TJ.
Hi, Toby. I'm like, what's the last thing I taught you? I don't know.
I just taught you how to use Google Docs a minute ago, so,
That you did. Summer's officially over. We're back in school. Very sad about it. But the best thing is that my plants outside haven't died yet, so I'm holding on to until the sky gets real gray, which it does here in Pittsburgh. So I'm just going to hold on to that while I can.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And I'm thrilled to begin this episode, arguably one of the most daunting episodes in the book. We're walking our way through the 3-columned, lightly illustrated behemoth that is chapter 2.2, entitled Night Lessons. And to do that, there's only one man we could think of that could make sense of a structure to get night lessons into shape. Returning champion and our very favourite purist, it's Neil Wechsler. Hi, Neil.
Hello. Thank you for that introduction.
Of course. I know you bridle at the purist, but I mean, you are very pure when it comes to Finnegans Wake.
You are the most purist of the pure. You're the most purist guest we've had. So
you're just very pure, Neil, and we appreciate it very much. So when we first sort of thought about how we were going to manage this text, you were the first person we thought of, and we reached out, and you immediately said, "I know how we would do it." So you've been very familiar with night lessons for many years. What are your initial thoughts about this chapter as you go through?
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to do it because this was one of the first introductions I had to the book. I had read it, but this guy, George DeSoto, who worked with my brother at a bookstore, in New York City in the 90s and early 2000s, and this guy, George DeSoto, had spent years of his life on 8 pages of Finnegans Wake, and they were from night lessons. And I just remember kind of going into the store, and he would like pick out a line from it, and we'd talk about different interpretations of that line. And so, yeah, there's a kind of real nostalgia in this particular.
I mean, that feels like the most New York City bookstore in the 90s sentence I've ever heard, where you come in and talk about a single sentence of night lessons for hours on end with.
Well, this was the guy too, I think I may mention this last time, who when asked like, why have you spent so much time on Finnegans Wake, his response was, what else is there?
I love it. I just love that quote.
So he talk about, I don't know, purist. He would be the purist of the.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully George is out there listening to what we're doing.
And
I mean, in terms of
this, sorry.
Yes, sorry, George. We're trying our best. So we have a reading structure of how we go through this, because this is an unusual episode in that Joyce has. Neil, would you like to describe to those without a text in front of them about how he lays out episode 2.2?
Yeah. So essentially, the night lesson, again, as with most of, there's no one right answer to this probably, but it really does feel in some sense like the kids are receiving a private lesson, right? So you have Shem and Shaun and Issy are receiving this lesson. There's the main body of the text, sort of the central piece of it. There are quite a few footnotes underneath that, so that central body would sort of be like the lesson itself. And then the footnotes are typically ascribed to Shem, the most artistic of the group, and then you have on the right marginalia would be Shaun, the more conformist type, and then you have the youngest Issy on the left, her notes as the youngest, sort of learning, trying to follow along with this lesson. So that's essentially the flow. Obviously, from a reading standpoint, when you're reading it to yourself, you can your eyes can kind of wander the page, and you can sort of grasp everything, as it's coming. The challenge I think that you posed is that how do you read this aloud, right? Because then the timing of it is pretty tricky. And again, I don't know that there's one right answer to it, but this idea of the footnotes are relatively straightforward in terms of how you would sort of relate them to the text itself. There's a kind of nice flow there. And then the marginalia, you just kind of have to figure out a kind of timing that works. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. And there's probably no need to even talk about it. You'll hear as we go along how someone reads and then someone reads the right marginalia, and trying to be too overly specific in terms of now so-and-so is doing this and now so-and-so is doing that. It almost becomes too complicated you lose the flow. So that's, I think, the main goal today is to kind of keep the flow going as we.
Yes. And I think the most important thing that you bring up is the fact that it is three different voices. And so we're really taking advantage of that here by using the three different voices that we have available to us to say that for each episode, we will be taking on one of those characters. So one of us will be doing the central column, one of us will be doing the right margin, one will be doing the left margin, and the person doing the central column will also be doing the footnotes because the footnotes are essentially the voice of the central column. That's
actually a great point, because when you said that, well, the central lesson isn't Shem doing the lesson, yet it's almost like Shem's. So technically there would be four, but we don't even know the central column. Is it a composite of different teachers? So it's like, is this coming from we don't know where it's coming from. So it seems like Shem doing the footnotes would be the person doing the central, in the sort of artistic universe that I think is being set up throughout this whole.
And it's interesting because the Oxford World's Classic, which we will talk about later on, they summarise this section and they ascribe different voices to the columns. So so they suggest that the Issy is the footnotes and Shem is at the left, which again, I think the meaning is kind of irrelevant because we're going to be shifting voices from episode to episode. We're going to break this up into three. So we are going to take turns at who's taking the central column and who's taking the left and right. So if you're listening to the first episode, don't get hung up on whose voice corresponds to who, because eventually we are all going to take turns reading all of those different voices.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it's wrong. It's always, I think, foolish to try to be so clean with it, right? To think it's like such as one-to-one correspondence. I mean, it's word music in the end of the highest order, and so trying to kind of over quantify all those different areas is a bad road.
And so the other thing that's really important, I think more than any other chapter that we've done so far, if you are listening along and are not following along with the book, I really advise that this is the chapter that you want to have a copy of the text in front of you, either a hard copy version. Finwake.com has a good replication of the text, and so have all of the columns. So the marginalia and the annotations are really important, and we're going to try as hard as we can to replicate that, but there's nothing that beats being able to see it on the page, because there are little comments and little asides that come in as notes. So that made me wonder, TJ, do you annotate in the margins of books as you read or plays as you read?
I do. And normally it's me circling, me asking questions, and it all depends on the purpose of the reading. If it's for fun, then I'll just be like, oh, that's fun, I want to come back to it. But if I'm working on something, I mark that sucker up. But the crazy thing is, I can mark something up 2 months later, I go back to it, even if I'm still working on it. I'm like, I have no idea what that means.
Did you guys ever get that experience of being assigned a textbook in high school that was someone else's, and all of their notes in the columns full of jokes or full of jottings?
Yeah, there was actually once I was working at an after-school program at a Christian school, and I guess one of the kids in the upper class had passed down his workbook to his brother, but he had gone through and every chapter he had made a pun with the chapter name. So it's Jesus calls Paul, and it'd be next to it say fat. Things like that throughout the entire book. So when I was bored, I would just flip through this book and take pictures of the funny things that he had written in the book.
Yeah, those kind of annotations are important. And as we'll all remember, this is the entire plot structure of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. There's no there's no book.
Oh,
If
you're
it wasn't
right.
annotations in the column, it has to be those annotations that make that work. So
You're right.
these
That
kind of
whole book is
annotations,
nothing but him reading notes.
that's right. So we're going to be talking about that today. So what I did is I went through and reformatted the whole thing. So I dumped the entirety of night lessons in and then meticulously, manually reformatted this into a reading document, which you can see an example of on our Instagram page at wake.pod. And then Neil, you went through, you did a little bit of prep as well on that same doc, right?
Yeah, there were a few spots. Again, like I was trying to just match it to my ear as I read it in terms of the arrangement of some of the lines, in terms of where they might hit. But yeah, I just did a few little things. And again, I don't know if any of those things were good, but it was just trying to capture what I thought was the rhythm of the text.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think we had a few conversations about how we would designate footnotes. We've decided that it's just going to be a little bit of a vocal inflection to indicate, rather than break into the piece with a sound effect or something. So we're going to be looking for that. So if you hear a little bit of an aside happening, it's probably a footnote. And it'll be the same voice from the central column as is doing the footnotes. So for this week's reading, if you're following along in your text, the central column, including footnotes, will be read by Neil. The left column will be read by TJ, and the right column will be read by myself. As always, we're reading from the Penguin Modern Classics edition of Finnegans Wake, published in 2000 with a foreword by Shem. Today we'll be reading the first part of chapter 2.2 from pages 260 to 277 in this edition. This is a segment that is entitled Night Lessons by the Oxford World's Classic edition of 2012, which also includes brief summaries of what's happening in each subsection, which we will address at the end of the reading. And now, without further ado, Finnegans Wake.
As we there are, where are we there, from tom titot to T2 tom totalitarian.
Unde et ubi.
TT to oo.
With his broad and hairy face, to Ireland a disgrace.
Whom will comes over, who to caps ever.
Sick.
And how else do we hook our hike to find that pint of porter place? Some shot, says the big guard. Ramesh quotes with her girlic ting, if old Herod with the Cornwell's eczema was to go for me like he does Snuffler whatever about his blue canaries, I'd do 9 months for his beaver beard. Whence, quick lunch by our left, wheel to where?
Meanly about peoples.
Long Livius Lane, mid-Mezzofanti Mali, diagonizing Lavatory Square up Tycho Brache Crescent, Mater Mary, mercery cordial of the dripping nipples, milks a queer arrangement. Shouldering Berkeley Alley, queer fixing Gainsborough Carfax, under Guido d'Oresto's gateway, by New Livius Lane, till where we wild while we withered.
Imaginable itinerary through the particular universal.
Don't retch meat, fat, salt, lard, sinks down and out.
Old Vico round point, but far be fear, and natural, simple, slavish, filial, the marriage of Montan wetting is mall we know, like any enthus ways, cuckling a hoyden, real life behind the floodlights, as shown by the best exponents of a royal divorce. In her rugy, gypsy-like chinkaminks, Paulchen, Jupy Jade, and her petsy bulls, indecked oi voilets, when we play dress grown up at alla luda poker, you'll be hapney-sized to feel how fetching I can look in cling-arounds. When who was whist was wire, and elvet jail, and the whir of the winds humming us how, his Hume. Hence taking tides we haply return, trumpeted by prawns and ensigned with sea kale, to befinding oneself when old is said, and one, and maker mates with maid, oh my, having conned the cones, and meditated the mured, and pondered the pencils, and ogled the Olymp, and delighted in her Dianaphis, and cachinated behind his cullises before a mausoleum.
Swiney Todd, ye diamond barbar.
Length without, breath of him, a chump of the Evans, upshoot of picnic or stupor out of soper cave of kids, or Himanian Glattonsburg, denery, donnery, dumb.
Dig him in the rubbish, ungodly, old ardry, Cornwall beeswaxing the convulsion box.
Who entiringly, as he continues highly fictional, tumulus under his tonic exterior, but plain Mr. Tumulty in muffed life. Kellywick, Longfellow's Lodgings, House of Commons Ill, Cakewalk, Amusing Avenue, Salt Hill, Co Mahogany, Iselund, Terra Firma. In his anticipiences, as in his recognizances, is Dominic Directus a many-feast munificent, more mob than man. Ein Sof, group name for grape juice. This upright one with that naughty beside him zero in.
Constitution of the constitutionable as constitutional.
To see in his horoscope he is mercurius than salts of sulphur, terror of the noon struck by day, cryptogram of each nightly bridable, but to speak broken heaven talk is he. Who is he? Whose is he? Why is he? How much is he? Which is he? When is he? Where is he? Bing, said her burglar's head, sotto poce. How is he? And what the deacons is there about him anyway? The decent man, easy, calm your haste, approach to lead our passage. This bridge is upper, cross.
Proba possible, proglomena to ideal history.
Thus come to castle knock. Yes of smirt, and ye merman Answorth from his beelingly place below the tight mark Gothelv. A password, thanks. Yes, Pierce, well, I'll be dummed, oh really? Oh, evil, cool in the sog and ease, how does he pits what's a drowser?
Swing the banjo, banthams, bounce the ballers blown to fook.
Who Cavadin earth-white at first cracked of thunder, a good rid croven in a tin-walled tub, when shoe his flutter by was netted and named, Apis amet aram, luna legit librum, pulla petit pasqua.
Sight near left me eye when I seen her put thoughts ote in pot.
Erdna crusha what Christus, wakem, and let lux per plustural Lucy at ease, and after din to shoot the shades, to house as wise fool ages builded, so big eat, says blistered Mariac and head, too beautified tummy tulbut, stapling to tether to, stepping stone to mount by as the boots at Pickard's down.
Gnosis of precreate determination, agnosis of postcreate determinism.
Quadrandwards.
And that skim-elk steed still in the ground loft fan, as over all or be these wing sets lean to the outwalls, beat skin, trophies of booth of baws, the balsam boards, beg, to go to the beg, to go to beg, and to be sure to reminder beg, good beg, buggy beg, burials be bally hoorays, so let Bacchus e'en call, in.
Tickets to the Tallywaggers Terrier Puppy Raffle.
Where the babbers ply the pen, the bibbers drang the den, the paplicom the publicam, he's turning 10 for 10. From seldomers that most frequent him, that same erst crafty hake mouth which under the assumed name of Ignatus Loker of foggy old harangue belly-hooting fish drunks on their favorite stamping ground, from a father the old balder break. Huntler and Pumar's animal alphabites, the first in the world from ab to zoo. And Egyptus, the incense trobed, as Cyrus heard of him.
More speaking.
And Major A. Shaw, after he got the minor smellpecks, and old white men's self, the blighty blotchy beyond the bays, hope of estro-Gothic and Ottomanic faith converters, despair of pandemia's post-mortem plastic surgeons, but as was all so long ago, Hispano, Cathan, Euxine, Castilian, Emiratic, Hebridean, Espanol, Cymric, Hellenic.
Smith, no home.
Rolf the Ganger, Ralph the Gangster, not a feature alike and the face the same. We don't hear the booming cursowaries, we won't fear the fletches of fighting, we float the Mediterraneans and come bask to the isle we love in spice. Punt, pastimes are pastimes, now let bygones be bygones. Salades ere it in his warken werden mind born, and it vild need older wise, and this one's golden be a Kimidoro, since primal made after in Garden of Edom. The tasks above are as the flasks below, saith the emerald canticle of Hermes, and all nons quod saith loth, and please stir, we told, on excellent quiet ink bottle authority.
Non-quad, said Quate.
Solar systemized serial cosmically in a more and more almighty expanding universe under one, there is rhymeless reason to believe original sun securely judges orb terrestrial, and he was a gay Lutherius anyway, sin oblide. You can tell by their extraordinary clothes, haud certo ergo.
Heresy and paradox lust.
Oh, but oh, felicitous culpability, sweet bad cess to you for an archetyped. Honor, commercio's energy, yet aid the linkless proud, the plurable, with everybody and act with pal, this ernst of all saps ale holiday of roaring month, with its 2 lunar eclipses and its 3 saturnine settings.
Archaic zelotypia and the odium teleologicum.
Horn of heathen, high-browed, brook of life, backfrish, amnios, amnium, flumen, culum, flaminolorium, We seek the blessed one, the harborer come, inheritance, even Canaan the hateful, ever a going, ever a coming between a stare and a soft fossilization. All branches start naked and bones stiff, we vivi sadi all be dude. Wherefore Petra swear unto Alma by the mortal's frost.
Bags.
And Alma swear unto Petra on my veiny life.
Balls.
In these places sojournimus, where in Eblin water, least of car and fen, leaving a munter shoals and salmon browsies, whom in ashore breezes, who with freshets wendeth to her broads.
The localization of legend leading to the legalization of latifundism.
A phantom city, faked of filium folk, bought and sold for a 4 of hundreds of manhood, and their 3 and 3 scores filkers for a price partitional of 26 and 6.
Move up, McKinnery. Make room for McConnery.
By this river side on our sunny bank, when you dreamt that you'd wealth in Marble Arch, do you ever think of Poolbeg Slough? How Buona the Vista by Santa Rosa, a field of May, the very vale of spring. Orchards here are lodged, sainted laurels ever buried. You have a hoig view a shawl, the glen of Marins and of Thorns, Glenall and Ardevine, pretty glint of Plazing height, this Norman court at boundary of the Ville, yon creepered tower of a church of Ireland, meet for true saints in worshipful assemblage. Porphyros Albion, red Cotelier, we were always holy rosemarines on our side every time, with our king's house of stone, Belgrove of Mulberry, the still that was mill and cluster that was yeoman's land, the ghast-cold tome shape of the quick foregone on, the luft-leaved elm Lefonian above mansion, each, every, all is for the retrospectioner skull, Agus skull Egan. Now must wash that little face. Sweet some auburn cometh up as self-freezing flower, that fragrance of the phrazy beds. The phoenix's pyre is still flaming away with the true prat-tight spirit. The wren his nest is needling as the terraces of the Sabines are televisable. Here are the cottage and the bungalow for the cobbler, and the brand new burger, a Viking vernacular expression still used in the Summerhill district for a jerry-hatted man of 40, who puts 2 fingers into his boiling soup plate and licks them in turn to find out if there is enough mushroom ketchup in the mutton broth. But Isolde, her chaplet gardens, and little plaids at leafest pose.
In Snowdrop, Tour de Dentelle, Flesh and Heliotrope.
A ride, the wonderful wonders of, the wonderful wonders, wonderful wanders off. Hidsgifishepi, with hedges of ivy and hollywood and bower of mistletoe, are though if it theme though, and yet if you pleadeths. Googla, bloopla. For the blither-haired daughter of Angoese, all out of 2 barony old perishers, Titan hands and floshy hair, a kiloliter in metro miriams, per separa post sapia, the parent bowl, wone tabard, wine tap, and warm tavern. Tomley, the grown man, a butcher's food, him the blows and breeches, I'm Corey to see P. Shutter, and by ribbon development from Contact Bridge to Lee Slaps, only 2,280,960 radiolumian lines to the woostwards of a Flynn Town's generous poet's office.
Here's our dozen cousins from the straves of Tripes.
Distorted mirage, a filthiest of the plain, wherein the boxomenace of the bedelias, I believe in Dublin, and the Sultan of Turkey, makes Hobby Hodge happy in his hole. I have heard this word used by Martin Halpin, an old gardener from the glens of Antrim, who used to do odd jobs for my godfather, the Reverend B.B. Brophy of Swords, the store and charter, Treetown Castle under Lynn, Riverpool, Hodabriac on it, but its piers eerie, its span spooky, its toll but a tell, its parapets all parapeteating, dioblings by his, which assores us from the murk, well, which we all pass, tons in our snooze, nor, while we hickerwers the thicker, shine shore, which assores us from the murk of the methylated in the bara below their bedveer, butler table round past morning top's necessity and Harrington's invention to the clarions of the child light in the sturdium upstarts. Here will dwell on homiest powers, love at the latch with novices nig and nag, the chorus, the principles, for the riffolication of their inclination to the manifestation of irritation, Dalder boys and dull. Ravens may rive, so can dove dealish. After sound, light and heat, memory, will, and understanding.
Be you fippish, any a Theseus, there's no purgatory, argues game.
Here, the memories framed from walls are minding.
Pre-austeric man and his pursuit of pan-hysteric women.
Till wranglers for ring rowdy reedy are, capitalized F underlined, reversed capitalized F, at gaze respecting 14th baronet meet, altrianth bank, court, chef, and ere commencement, Catalonic when 80th check choke will, Attle's gambit, that buxon bruise up give it a blur, Lead us seek, O June of eves, the genius, thou who fleest ficklesome the fond fervid fronger, to thickly thyself attach with thine ecteased and sewer, a question of pull, on drawer of her unconscionable flicker flapper for her unterdrugged, for Rose Point, see Inish McSaint, lead us seek, load us see, light us find, let us miss not made a date. Mimosa, multimimetica, the meaning of meaning, Elpis, thou fountain of the Greases, all shall spear thee word. Mannequins pose, from Congan is Canteen Hoos, to Nibbers hind the knoll, Ausonius, Audacier, and Gale, Gilly, Gall, their holy presumption hers, sin fly to sprate, sing-a-ling-a-ling, Storiella, as she is Sion.
There was a sweet, hopeful, cold sis.
Whence follow up with end speaking knots for yestures plutonically pursuant on briefest glimpse from glad rags, pretty Proserpronette, whose slit satchel spilleth peas, Belicia beacon beckon bright.
Urges and wider urges in a primitive sept.
Usheret unmesh us, that green ray of Erong, it waves us to yonder as the red, blue, and yellow flogs time on the domi sol, anima, animamba, animababa. With a bluey blow and a windigo, where flash becomes word and silence self-loud, to brace congeners trebly bounded and asservage twainly. Adaman, only for his fathering law I could skewer that old one and slosh her out many's the time, but I thinks more of my pottles and kets. Emmy is so sooteen, and sometimes eagerly ogs wibe, oe, all a bunk for Tararat, look slipper, soppy hat, we've a doss in the manger, so mag this siblet be our shibboleth, that we may syllable her well, Vetus may be occluded behind the moo, and Veto but Nova will be nearing as the radiant among the Nereids.
The big bear bit the sailors only. Trouble, trouble, trouble.
O one of Charmer's eye, unica, charmers who, under the branches of the elms, in shoes as yet unshent by stoniness.
Fornening crystal-like Cavigny.
Wend, went, will, wend, away of honey myrrh and rambler roses, mist musk, while still the maybe mantles, the my bloom are ever her, if have faded from the floor, one must sell it to someone, the sacred name of love. Their arms enlocked, ring rang, the chimes of sex appealing.
Tell me all of Anuralilis.
As Conchitas with scent astray, making it up as we goes along. Rung, all thinking all of it, the it with an itch in it, the all every inch of it, the pleasure each with preen her for, the business each was bred to breed by. The law of the jungle, soon Jem Johns will cudgel about some arithmetic or other over Brown and Nolan's divisional tables.
Early notions of acquired rights and the influence of collective tradition upon the individual.
Whereas she of minions novens, Charlie being Cupid,
will you carry my can and fight the fairies?
For Mug's whumping Grooser's grubbiness, Aunt's avarice and Grossoper's grand geff, with her toti petty pout of gem and ficu, will sit and knit on Solfa's sofa. Let me blush to think of all those halfway hoist pullovers, stew of the evening, bookies will stew, and a bodykin, a Boston, a thimble, theatre, but all is her inborn intend from a grandma's grammar.
Alma Mathers, auctioneer.
She has it that, if there is a third person, masculine, felinine, or neuter, being spoken a bad, it moods prosodies from a person speaking to her second, which is the direct object that has been spoken to with and at. Take the dative with his oblative. I'd like his pink's cheek, for even if obsolete, it is always of interest. So spake grandma on the impetus of her imperative. Only mind your genderous towards his reflexive, such that I was to your grappa.
Old Gavelkine and Gamper, and he's as daft as yours ears.
Bots trousen Horamanov, when him was me heedin', French devil and red herring, so that's why you ran away to see Mrs. Lappy. Leap me lock lown, for you have sensed, and mine, what the Ludy saying, his analectual pigmahop, a washable, lovable, floatable doll. There is comfortism in the knowledge that often hate on first hearing comes of love by second sight. Have your little syntax in the dunk of subjunctions, dual and prude with Turiel, but even the airiest chaperon, whatever plottered perfect, anent, pretty dotes, and hec guena omnia, may perhaps chance to be about to be in the case to be becoming a pale Peter White, in spite of all your tense accusatives, whilstly you are wall-floored, with her poodle fainting to be let off and feeling dead in herself. Is love worse living? Like your geraniums for the better half of a yearn or sob. It's a wild kitten, my dear, who can tell a winkling from a warthog, for you may be as practical as is predictable, but you must have the proper sort of accident to meet that kind of a being with a difference. If she can't follow suit, Renee goes to the pack. Flame at his fumbles, but freeze on his fist. Improper frictions his maledictions, and mensuration makes me mad. Every letter is a godsend, ardent Aries, brusque Boreas, and glib Ganymede, like zealous Zeus, the O me height his test of all, to me or not to me, satis thy quest on, Werbung sap jeg suis, vos war a gentleman, though I am a queen.
Un date umoroso, M 50-50, Oak, Eblon, Poland.
Is a game over? The game goes on. Cook, search me. The beggar, the maid, the bigger the mauler, and the greater the patriarch, the griefer, the pinch. And that's what your doctor knows. Oh, love, it is common knownest thing, how it pashes the Plutus and the Pope. Long and short's primer of black and white wenchcraft. Pop, an egg she active or spoon she passive, all them fine clauses and Lindleys and Murrays never brought the participle of a present to a despondent heart or frixie vindictively I say it from her post-conditional future. The gaggle's all out. Lumpsum is who lumpsum pays. Quantity counts, though accents falter.
I'll go for that small Polly if you'll suck to the Lieben squash.
Yoking apart in oblique orations parsed to one side, a brat Alana can choose from so many, be a solicitor's appendix, a pipe clerk, or free functionance fly swatter, that perfect little cad from the languors and weakness of limber-limbed lassyhood till the head, back in heartaches of waxed-up womanage, and heaps on heaps of other things too. Note the respectable Irish distressed ladies and the merry mustard froth blowers of Humphrey's Town associations. Attack first, quicks after, beware how in that his subtale of Schlangder. He's just but nuts on white, mate. He hasn't the teeth nor the grits to chew, and that's what's wrong with Lang Wang Worm, old warbling goes belly. Lies liaison to tease or isles, to vert embowed, set proper penchant, but learn from that ancient tongue to be middle old modern to the minute, a spitter that can be depended on. The wander lawns lust us forever. Alias, alas, she broke the glass, little looker through the leafery hours is mystery of pain. Dear and I trust in all frivolity I may be pardoned for trespassing, but I think I may add hell. You may spit on Yule Hilt's bike and multi-please your Mike and Nike with your kick shoes on the algebrars.
Omara Farrell.
But volve the Virgil page in view, the O of woman is long when burly those two muters.
First Frieden Ibus.
Sequent her so from Nabob. He is my all mankind of every deception. See you never stray, who'll nim you nice and am the day. One hath just been a reading, hath not one?
Concomitants of courage, counsel, and constancy, ordination of omen, onus, and obit, distribution of danger, duty, and destiny, polar principles.
Yeah, and their memoirs of hirelings' puny wars, and so and all gaga of the O'Brien.
Osteria, Monster, Linnestar, and Connecticut.
The O'Connor, the McLaughlin, and the McNamara with some their appendage.
Cleopatra, thy hosiery's history.
Dada of sire Gellius Caesar, that gamely Torquemester, all his teeths back to the front, then the moon, and then the moon with a hole behind it, with his duo of druidesses and ready money rompers, skip one, flop floor, Jenny's in the cabbage store, and the triumph for it of Oxthevius, Lapidus, and Malthouse Anthony. You may fail to see the lie of that layout Suetonia, none of your compulsory English here, but the reflections which occur to me are that so long as beauty life is body love. Understudy my understanding, sustituta and meek thine compliment, gymna fleshed, and so bright as mucha of your mirror holds her candle to your caudle, lone left hand Lycle's sombring autumn of your spring. Reck you not one spirit of any seed, whether triglymin, cuddle his coddle or nope, she'll confess it by her figure, and she'll deny it to your face. If you're not ruined by that one, she won't do you any whim. And then, what after's it? Gruff gun may blow, gam gonna flow, the Gosson's eye, the Jennings eye.
The Erico Furioso makes the valet like smiling.
From the butts of Heber and Haramon, Nolans Volans brood our pansies, broon and broom. There's a split in the infinitive, from to have been, to will be. As they ward in their big innings ease now, we never shall know. Eat early, earth apples, coax cobra to chatters, hail, Heva, we hear.
The hyperape, the mink, he grows the mole, you see now for a crushed sake, Chowley.
This is the glider that gladdened the girl, though I have one just like that to home, dead leaf brown with quicksilver appliques, would holy most appliziate, a nice shiny sleeky silk out of that slippering shake charmeuse, that light to the wind that lifted the leaves, that folded the fruit that hung on the tree that grew in the garden go gave. Wide hiss were wisening, hoots from were globing, why hidest thou hinder thy husband his name? Lead a lada, flutter afraida, so does your girdle grow, willed without witting, world without aimed. Papa posus, mamma minette, war wits what and who wits why. What's that, ma'am, says I, but it's tails for toes and titties for totties and cum buckets cum bats till delete, as you say yourself.
Piggy pass.
Dark ages clasp the daisy roots.
Panoptical purview of political progress and the future presentation of the past.
Stop. If you are a Sally of the Allies, hot off minnow wars and naval actiums, picked engagements, and banks of rowers.
Ba 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 ba.
Please stop if you're a BC. Minding Missy, please do. But should you prefer AD, step please. And if you miss with a venture, it serve you girly well glad. But holy Janice, I was forgetting the Blitzen cops. Here, Hengis and horse sauce, take your heads. That's the left muse, but it washes off. Out of that tail tub and leave your hinny henny hind you. It's haunted, the chamber of airings. Wone tug trace stirrup.
Seedlets puff for slogan plumbers.
It is distinctly understoutred that since you 3-hand size, put your 2-foot large timepates in that dead wash of loaf murph, and until such time pace one and the same messern, the grinning statesman, Brock and Leon have shunted the grumbling Count de Totes, Starlin and Sir Arthur Guinness, Fomus homely brew, be battled by bottle Gagger de Gugger, where he fought the she-shock of stim stammer, and we caught the pipettes of our love lives.
Hoploids and Ethems.
Bulligan bear, and then bear again, bull again, grin, 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 grin. Staffs, varses, hards, and herds, and bucks versus barks by old Grumbledom's walls.
Kurug, Matry, me, both seen fiend, Femils hug banks.
Bumps, bellows, and balls, shake eternity and lick creation. Opprimers down, up, oppima. Rent and rates, and tithes and taxes, wages, saves and spends. Heil heptarch, span of peace. I'm blessed if I can see. Live league of Lex, next in the moors, fast as das and for you. Empowerment of the booble by the bauble for the bubble.
All we suffered under the cow, dung forks, and how we enjoyed over our pick of the basket filled. Old Kind's meat meal.
So wrap up your worries and your woe, pum tum tum, and shake down the shuffle for the throw, for there's one mere ope. Hoppity honey, hoosh the hen, I like cluckers, you like nuts, wink. For down fall Ned as Hannah Levy, shrewd shrup, lifter and never and nor, skiddos with her spoiled, sweet, medium and dry like altar wine to add gay touches. For Hugh and Guy and Goy and Jude, a dimpled and pimpled and simpled and wimpled, a peak and a poke and a pig and a pew. Who'll buy me penny havey? She wins them by ones, a whole hecto dendicate. Fly for the Jillies and a bum for the Napotundus, for Mangy, Mungy, Jumbo, Jack Matson, Jeff Mucas, Bracelets, Gracias, Barcelonas. Well, Maggie, I got your cast-up devils all right and fits lovely, and am vaguely graceful, Maggie, thanks. Oh, what a lovely free speech 'twas tep. My 6 is no secret, sir, she said, to gar how a lovely hinter, grunting tip like lilt of larks to burden crocodile. Yes, there, Tad, thanks, give from Tater, look at the now, or skittering lobbing at that wheeze of old windbag, bluster bloss, blowharding about all he didn't do. Hello, Yearn Toop, with is the winker for the muckwits of Wilsey, and Nith is the nod for the Emperor Napoleon, and hither is poor blonde piebald horse, with its tricuspidal hauberclem covert chaff emblem on, for the man that broke the ranks on Mont St. John.
Murdoch.
The all riddle of it, that is already with us, ahead of schedule, which already is plan accomplished from and sign.
Pass the auction, pay du sauce.
Daffy of the 5 positions, did Death Ray stop him? Is still as reproaches Paulus on the Matterhorn and Andre Shaw and Hobnobs. Go up quick, stay so long, come down slow, daring Dunderhead to shiver his timbers, and Hannibal McHamilton the Haggerite. If I knows me knees knobs, the both of hims is natives of Genua's. More life power elbow him, minister building up as repreaches Timothy and Saint Barbarax. A glass of peel and a pip for Mr. Potter of Texas, please. Number 32 West 11th Street looks on to that. May all in the two coming of the sempiternal spiel spry with it.
From the 7 tenths of Joseph till the candle, Candace of Mary Marian, oil, olive hunkered and thorny too.
Daytree doloriferous, which more and over leafeth earlier than ever growth, And elf-shot hedawag, with frayed nerves wondering till they feel sore, like any woman that has been born at all events, to the purda, and for the how manyeth and how movingeth time at what the demons in that jackhouse that Jerry built for Massa and Mrs.
As Shake Fork might pitch it.
And hijo de puta, the spark-zone firmament of the Starik fields gone to Gangoan, where blows a Nemon at each blink of wind still, all the world loves a big gleaming jelly. They were sliding along and sleeping aloof and scouting around and shooting about, all which while are wear balloons for good vaunty years. Dagobert is in Clane's clean hometown prepping up his preparatory and learning how to put a broad-faced bronzely out through a broken breech, material from Brian All-in-Eyeing.
Puzzly, I smell a cat.
Aaron's hero-chaired cullatier, a peng and penny for your wartsheet keepy. And as these things being so or ere those things having done,
from synergetic dichotomy through diagonistic consilience to dynastic continuity.
Way back home in Pacata, Albernia, my globe goes gaddy at geography, giggle pending which time I was looking for my shoe all through Arabia, untillably holy gamel ire, one world burrowing on another.
Two makes a wig at the macroscope, tell us peep.
If you've got me, neighbor, and any large lumps geek, and got the strong of it, stand fest, or topio seg on hero, or any other Macother signs is on the belly goods Bastille back, bucket up with fullness and silvering to her jubilee. It must be some bugbear in the gender, especially when old witch they all seem to look. Birch leaves her jointure, our Lavian waving, visage full of flesh and fat as a hen's forehead.
From the Buffalo Times of By Sundays.
Ariana and Blowiart topsy-turvy, that royal pair in their palace of quicken bows, height, the goat, and compasses. Phone number 1769 if you want to know. After me looking up the plan in Humphrey's Justice of the Peace, it's said to see preceding chaps. His sea-arms, Strong's rounder, her veli-voli ein, a shipwreck, have discussed their things of the past, crime and fable with shame, home and profit. Oh, boy joins in Harriodities, only no ane told Mrs. of her massas, behaving she would laugh that flat, that after that she had sank down on her fat arcs, they would shake all to sheiks. Why Louis Lead to Lay and Hun tried to kill Ham, scribbled hobbies, in whose veins runs a mixture of our heat bent and hard upon. Spell me the chimes, they are tales all told, traduced in jinglish janglage for the nuances of dolphins born. Today is well thine, but where's may tomorrow be?
Quick quack quoques the parrot book of dates.
But bless his cowly head, and press his crankly hat. What a world's woe is each other's weariness, waiting to bead-roll his own properer mistakes.
Some is out for two-headed dull Karens, but more pluffers turnips, omnitudes and a nut stale.
The backslapping glad-hander, he gives me palpitations with his castle cowards, never in the toozers, and even in those twazzers, and then babe teasing us out of our hoyden name. Free of his florid future, and the other singling likeless, dirging a past of bloody altars, gale with a bloss to him, dove without gall, and she of the gill jaw's nest. My gold-fashioned bother near drave me rovin' mad, and I dying to keep my line-free face like ready-made Mariangs for Jollycomb's smashing homes, who tears up letterine she never opposed a pen upon. What I would like is a Jade Lewis tone to go with the moons and crescent. Yet sung of love and the monster man, what hiccuper to hem or her to Hagaba? Oaf, brief kindle, parley-vous the askin who's, I do, Ida, and how to call the cattle black. Mupetsi, me potsi, dogs' vespers are unending.
The mongrel under the dung mound, significance of the infraliminal intelligence, off-randies.
Vesper trilobitier, got toppered quits his gabard cloak to sate with Beckus. Zumbak, Akevry, yet wind will be ere fade over. I was so snug off in my upholter's cradle, but at long leash I'll stretch more capricious in his dapple pie bed, and the hour of Frumini and Burgo Bell.
For all us kids under his aegis.
If Nippon have pearls or opal's Eldorado, the dainty dish, the lecking out, Gipu good oil for Hushmangagandi, long 'tis till gets bright that all cocks waken and birds Diana. Pipette, I can almost feed their sweetness at my lisplings. With dawn song hail, 'ot darks flew, a duskiness, bats that, there, pp strilling.
Saving the public his health.
At Brannan's on the moor, at Tam Finnegans week, yet his still's going strang, and still hear his notcules, and can tell things a common on by that fluffy feeling.
Superlative absolute of Porterstown.
Large as loomy wheelhouse to bodge box, a listen hunterland, lumber up with hoodie hearsman Carawayne, we keep his peace who follow his law, Sunday King. I wonder if I put the old buzzard one night to suckle in milkman's honey, like they used to embalm some of his special popes with a book in his hand and his mouth open, his 7-colored soot, Okani, Okanal, and a ripping rude rape in his Lucretius toggery, and his impenance one heap lumpach mogul.
Why so mucky spike bridges span our flumy Nanan road?
And rivers burst out like weeming race round joyed rinks for the funerally. Will ye not would wet your weapons, warriors bard, where every feaster's a foster's others, Fienians all, Roe, Williams, Bowie, Green, Gorham, McKendacuff, and viler the lays of ancient homes.
PC hamlets in the cottonwood, listening.
The welling breast, he willing giant, the mountain morning is duggety due, to be obedient in civicity, and urbanious at felicity. What you'll meet, meek Mike, the standing's glass effect, you could sugarly swear buttermilk would not melt down his dripping ducks. Or Deputy Member when he's head on pole, and Peters Burgess and Miss Mishy Mushy is tip-topped by Toft Taft.
The throne is an umbrella strand, and the scepter's a stick.
Bobless gobbelige.
Jady jewelry, our Doctor dear.
We'll pause there at the end of the first section of Chapter 2, Part 2, the episode called Night Lessons. Join myself, TJ and Neil next week as we swap roles and move deeper into this baffling chapter. We'll discuss the entire chapter once we get to the end of Part 3. See you next week, episodic somnambulists. This has been Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegans Wake, just to hear it out loud. If you've made it this far, thank you for your dedication. Join us next week for another segment of Finnegans Wake and a chat about what we've found. Wake is a Moon Street Media podcast, engineered by TJ Young and Toby Malone. Our theme song is The Ballad of Percy O'Reilly, arranged and performed by Meg Logue after James Joyce. Wake is recorded in Canada, where Finnegans Wake is in the public domain. For community and bonus content, join us at our free Patreon at patreon.com/wakepod. If you have questions about Finnegans Wake, don't ask us. We're just as confused as you are. See you next week.